Hello and welcome to my Imperfect Knitting Life. This is episode 21. So if you haven't seen my channel before, I live on a small block of land outside Rotorua in the North Island of New Zealand. I have a love of knitting and I was silly enough to buy a mini commercial spinning mill, which I put in my shed. So in my podcast I talk a bit about my knitting, a little bit about life, and then also what's happening in the shed. And obviously it's been months since I last did a podcast, so I've got so much to talk about that I honestly do not think I'm going to get it all done in one podcast. So I'm going to start and then we'll see where that takes me. So the first thing is that I'm going to talk about is a couple of finished objects, because I think it's 7 months since my last episode, and then I'll talk a little bit why there was such a gap. But yes, so 7 months ago we were in spring and starting to go into summer, and I wanted to knit a couple of things for summer. And so the first thing I knitted was a t-shirt called I've done a couple so I've forgotten. It's by Crayabaya, I think. The Tolsta tee. And the Tolsta tee is a great pattern. So I think it's a double knit, so an 8-ply is the version that I made. I think there's a 4-ply and an 8-ply pattern, or a fingering weight and a double knit pattern, and you can do it in stripes or you can do it with lace. You can pretty much do what you want, which is kind of what I say about top down patterns. That's why I love them so much. And I had a whole load of stash that I wanted to dive into, and I had this, I don't know what Camarose, I can't even remember what it's called, but I had a variety of colours because I was going to do a colour work which I never got to do, and so I made this. And I do love it, but I don't think I'll be wearing it in the summer because it's actually really itchy next to my skin. And so I think what I'll do is probably wear it on top of things like now. And but it is a lovely pattern. I definitely will do it again. Very well written. And I enjoyed the stripes. I've actually never ever had a stripy top before. So I'm just going to bring it up so you can have a little look a bit closer. And it was quite a quick knit because, well, there's not a lot of it really, is there? But yeah, highly recommend that. So I'll just confirm that that was by Crayabaya. Rebecca Clow. Is that Crayabaya? For some reason I think she's the Crayabaya podcast. But Rebecca Clow, a wonderful one. And I'm definitely going to do another one. So the second thing that I knit was using my own yarn. And it's a Polworth. It's very soft. I love it very, very much. Can't really show it, well, unless I take my other top off, but basically normally I wear it without a top on, and I was wearing it just with high crop jeans or whatever. And this is a Polworth yarn that I spun in the mill. And so this is the Midsommer tee. Let's get that up. It's going to take me a while to get back into this because honestly, the longer I've left it, the harder it's got. I've tried to do another podcast earlier on, but after about 15 takes, I was like, walk away, don't bother. So I'm coming back and hopefully we get something out and I can share that with you. So that was the Tolsta tee. So this Midsommer tee is by Caitlin Hunter. And here is a picture. That's a picture on Ravelry, and then you can see here you can make it with a lot of Positive Ease. It's very, very adaptable pattern as well. And I really enjoyed making this one too. I'll definitely make it again. My daughter made it, and she's made one for a friend as well. So that's a sport and 2 sport weight held together, which was bulky, and I got gauged with my Polworth, so I didn't double it up with anything, and that came out really, really nicely. What I might do is actually at the end just put a picture with the weights on, because people are often interested in the weights, and this is not, I think it may have used just under 300 or about 300 grams, probably less I think in this top here. And yeah, it's worn very well. Love it. I will make that again. So that is the Midsummer tea. What else have I made? Such a long time. Oh yes, I made a couple of Novice cardigans. So my mum asked me, would I make her a cardigan for winter? And I said, sure. And she picked out a green that I had made quite early on when I started the mill, or the shed mill I'm going to call it. And it was not the softest yarn, but she loved the colour and she insisted that she wanted that. So I suggested that we double it up with some mohair that I had, which makes it quite muted, and it's a great knit. So this is the Novice cardigan. Let me pop it on so you can have a little look. This is not what I would call a next to skin yarn or fabric, but it actually is really, really nice. So this is more of a, I'm going to move this, sorry, I'm going to have to move this camera away a little bit because that's not working, is it? Right, so I like the cropped look. She wanted the cropped look. What's lovely about this is it's a top-down knit, so you start off at the neck, there's some short row shaping, you obviously divide for the sleeves, and then you knit the length that you want, and like I say, we like a crop top. The cardigan did call for what do you call it, shaping on the arms, which I did do. Normally I like to have a balloon sleeve, but it was for my mum and she was quite happy. One of the things I do love is when you finish it off, like there, I used an Italian bind off, and I just think that sort of edging is such a nice little finish to it. So I just have to sew in the ends and pop the buttons on. You put the button band on afterwards. So I mark all of that up where I want the buttons to go, and then I put the buttons on the other side as I'm going along. So yeah, I think that's very nice, and my mum loves it. She'll be very happy when I just finish the last couple of bits and give that back to her. Yeah, so I did a very similar one for my, well, same pattern for one of my daughter-in-laws, and she wanted this really, oh my goodness, look at this pink. So this is another shed made yarn. So you can see I don't, because I'm actually dyeing in the fleece, I don't have flat colours. The only time you really get flat colours is if you dye the skein once it's been spun, and even then I find that can be quite patchy. So I prefer to dye it in the fleece and just accept that sort of natural variegation, and she absolutely loved it. So I had some mohair silk lying around, which I had also dyed up myself into this sort of purple colour for something I did, and yeah, I knitted that for her. And you can see here's a sample with the mohair, and then a sample without. And even though these are big jerseys, they're also not that heavy. I'm going to put in the weight of this when I edit it, so you can see it's actually not that heavy when you consider that it's quite a big chunky cardigan. And mum will love that, and my daughter-in-law loves her pink one, and I might have to make some more. This is a raspberry colour, and I might have to make some more of this, because I've had quite a few people ask me for more, and I've literally only got about 350 or 400 grams left if anybody wanted that. It's 3 balls, but they're more than 100 grams on it. That's 150, 120, 130. So what's that? 400? That's 400 grams. That's all I've got left of that one. I mean, this is the thing when you actually make it in the shed, is I can't make massive batches. I can never compete with somebody who has a fully commercial mill and can produce, you know, 100 kilos or more in one go. My batches, if I'm taking it all the way to yarn, often about between 3 and 5 kilos. So that's not a lot really, and that means 30 to 50, 100 grams skeins. So that was the 2 novice cardigans I made. What's next? Oh yes, this is quite nice. So lovely Judy, she did a little sample knit for me, and that is the Pressed Flowers Cowl. And I mean, in total, that's just over, that's about 140 grams, but 2 100 gram balls, and she didn't make it as long as the pattern suggested. She just did it as a sample, and you know, 2 100 gram balls would make the cowl quite easily. The small cowl, you'd have to get a bit more to make the bigger cowl. But you know, when you get some examples of what color combinations you can have. So what I think I'm going to do is actually do a few samples of color combinations. I have been making, so this is not a finished object, but I am making one, and these are the colors that I have used. So the main color is the white and the contrast is the mixed. And if you look at them in the cake, I mean, this is actually one of my latest yarns that I made, and I love it. I'll talk to you about that when I talk about the mill. And this is one I dyed up, and that's a Corriedale that I got a commercial tops for, and then dyed it up and put it through the mill. So it's nice and soft, but you know, those colors are extreme. I probably would not use that in a solid something, but when you're doing color work, it really does work out quite well. So I'm sure you've heard of the Pressed Flowers pattern, and that is a mosaic pattern, and it took me honestly several goes to get it right. I followed a couple of YouTube videos to look at the pattern, but the number of times I had to unpick this thing, honestly, if I said it was 7 or 8, I wouldn't be exaggerating. I'd probably be underrating, because I had to unpick it so many times to correct errors. They're very noticeable if you make a mistake, but worth the effort, and I definitely would do that one again. Yeah, so 100 grams of each would do the small one, because I've actually done 100 grams of each, and I've still got a reasonable amount left, and I feel like the cowl's big enough now that I can finish it off, and I've just got to do that, finish it off and sew it together. So that's the Pressed Flowers Cowl. Now what else have I got that I made? I think I might have talked to you about this last time, so I don't really want to talk about it too much, but it is a Vassal I made in some Polworth, and I have worn this jersey to death. I love it. It's a blue Polworth that I dyed, and I do like the Vassal pattern. I do think that I could perhaps knit it on a bigger needle, because let's go back. Whoops, you can't even see it properly. Well, because I think the ones that I've seen, the neck has always been looser than this. Although, having said that, when it comes to winter, I like a warm neck, so no downside to that, really, is there? So the Vassal is by Albiona McLaughlin. I'm not even sure if that's how you pronounce her name, because it's Irish. And she does some awesome patterns. You can get that on Ravelry, that's where I got it. So yeah, that's the, forget that. Now, next thing I made, oh, I'm gonna laugh at this one. So I wanted to do a little bit of short row knitting, and I bought some patterns. Was it Wormhead Knits? I bought her book, and then I bought this Turitella by the Turitella, and I made this out of some yarn that I had lying around. I really liked the colors and put them together, and you know, it's meant to look like a shell, and I think it does look like a shell, but I said to my husband, oh, look what I've made, and you know what he said to me? Oh, bacon. I like the short one because, again, you just want a little something that you can pop around your neck in the winter that's not too hot, especially here in the North Island. It doesn't actually get too cold, and that's the perfect size. So, you know, 100 grams of each, and you probably have some left over, and you would be able to make that. Again, the variegated ones would be really nice. I've got quite a few Corriedale variegated ones that I've made from a commercial tops, and I've got some post-dyed ones, like for example, look at this, that's something I dyed in my mill. Anyway, I'm digressing now. Stop, Denny. The other thing I did was I went on a little sock making mish. I have worn all of these socks, and you can tell, but I made this blue pair. It's just basically a vanilla sock by Winwick Mum. Vanilla sock there, and this is still the vanilla sock, but instead of doing stockinette, I ribbed it, and I really like the way it fits with the rib. And this is a top-down construction. It's got a nice German short row heel gusset, and yeah, then you graft it off at the toe. What I really want to do with the next set of socks that I make is actually do a toe-up version. If anybody can recommend a nice, easy, well-fitted vanilla toe-up version, I would love that. And the reason why I want to try toe-up this time is, no matter how, you know, whatever stretchy bind-off cast on I do, I still feel like it's tight. Whereas if you do something like, you know, if I look at the, where is it? Bind-off, you're going to get, you know, it's got way more give, and it's just such a nice, neat edge. So that's what I'd like to try next with the socks. So I did some on commercial yarn that I was given as a gift. Totally forgotten it. I'm thinking 1,000 Acres from somewhere down south. And then I put some, what I thought was sock yarn, or sock yarn fleece through the mill. And I thought it was Corriedale and nylon, but my friend Judy pointed out to me, oh no, that is not that. It's actually Corriedale llama, and I think it was silk. So I don't know how long they're going to last, but these are fabulous in my gumboots. And the first pair I did this bright orange, which is one of the colorways I did a little, let me just actually grab that. I did 3 colorways a few months ago, and I called it my citrus colorway. But a lot of all the green, this is the last of the green, it's all gone, sorry. Whoops. That's the, oh, what do you call that, lime, that's the lime. This is the orange one. And that's the lemon one. So yeah, so kind of in the middle of winter I did that. I've got a few balls of the orange and a few balls of the lemon left, and the rest is gone. But again, I didn't love that really bright orange, so I over dyed it with some flax from the garden, and it sort of gave me this dirty orange color, which I still quite like. At the end of the day, when you're wearing it with your boots, you're not really going to see them very much, and I think they'll keep my feet lovely and toasty, warm and cushioned. So that is also the oh no, that wasn't the Winwick sock. Honestly, I've got no idea what pattern this is. I'm not very good at recording this sort of stuff, am I? But never mind. So those are the socks. One thing I did make, and this I'm going to tie up with some yarn I made recently. So when I first started in the mill, I was just like so happy if I could just literally spin anything. And when I first started, I was getting lengths of 120 meters, 100 grams, 140 meters, 100 grams. And, you know, the fleece was all fleece I'd been given, and a lot of it was really, really rough. And, you know, you're looking at a particular market, which is probably quite small, that likes rough, fat wool. And so I really spent months trying to hone that craft into making a finer yarn and a softer yarn. So, you know, definitely if you want a softer yarn, you've got to pick the fleece, and you've got to think about what you're mixing it with, and then also how you spin it. So obviously if you can get it thinner, it's obviously lighter, all of those things. So I have actually improved. I've spent a lot of time trying to improve it so that I can now probably, I'd say most of the yarns are about 180 meters per 100 grams. I'll put Imperial version underneath here, and then a couple of times I managed to get it to 210 meters 100 grams. So when you're looking at what's a real double knit, it's from 210. Having said that, I'm knitting some of these 190 meter ones on 4mm needles, and they knit up like a double knit or an 8-ply. So again, you know, when it's made in the shed, it's very different to commercial yarn. I mean, if you think of some of the things that they can do in commercial mills, like you can have a fully woolen spun yarn, you can have a fully worsted spun yarn, you have air blown yarn, you have, you know, singles that's spun applied with a filament of something. So, you know, they can obviously produce things that I'm never going to be able to produce. So just have to accept that, don't I? So this little vest is, I think it's called a seed vest. It's a Norwegian pattern, but they use a very fine fingering weight yarn, and this is not. This is a double knit, easily a double knit. And so I just adjusted the number of stitches. You know, I can pretty much guess what size a baby is going to be, having, you know, helped more than 1,300 babies into the world. So I just literally followed the pattern, adjusted the size, a lot less stitches. If this thing took me 4 hours to knit, it would have been a lot. And the yarn is one of my most recent yarns, and this is 190 to 200 meters per 100 grams. And I'm just going to go and grab one of the balls to show you, actually. So this is a 100 gram skein here. Do you like my little logo? I'm very happy with that. And this yarn has got, it's a real mixture actually. It's 70% of a crossbreed, 20% alpaca, and then I've got 10% Angora bunny in there. So let me tell you about how I got the bunny. I did not kill bunnies, I promise. My daughter lives in Cambridge, and someone told me about a wool buyers in Cambridge, and she said, oh, if you want to buy wool, you can go there and they will sell you some fleeces. And so I think I've been there 3 or 4 times now, and it depends on who you get, because there's a young fella and he's so helpful, and you know, he's obviously done wool grading and stuff like that, and he loves to spend a bit of time with me picking out some fleeces that he thinks I'll like. The old fellow was a little grumpy, and it probably is his business, and he's thinking, time is money, buddy, stop helping her. But anyway, so they had tucked in this corner a wool fadge, and it had several bags of Angora fur in it. And apparently he said there was a farm not too far away, and they shave them once a year as part of their maintenance, and this person had brought in several years worth. And so I took 1 sack of that and brought it back and thought I'd try it. I was like, don't be impulsive Dinny again and buy every last sack that they've got. Just take the one, try it out, see how it goes, and then if you like it, you can come back. So guess what? I liked it, so I went back and I bought all of what they've got. So I think that's going to be, you know, a really nice little blend. It's got a lovely little halo to it. Don't know if you can see the halo. And I'm going to dye quite a few colors up with that. You know, it's really trying to find something that's a little bit different. And I'm very proud of that. You know, when I started early on, I was proud of just making yarn. I was really proud of my colors, but I felt that the actual product could do with a bit of improvement. But I just wonder if it's a bit like when you learn to hand spin and you start off thinking how awful your spinning is. It's got all those slubs in, it's all those bits and pieces in. But now I literally could not do a fat, I don't think I can hand spin fat yarn. I'd have to 3-ply it or something like that to make it fat. So, you know, once you kind of get past that point, it's actually really hard to go back and do the chunkier or the slub yarns or whatever. So that is crossbreed, alpaca and bunny. So there you go. I'm very, very proud of that. That's, yeah, I'll tell you about the shop later. What else have I got here? I feel like I need to throw everything on the floor that I've done because my table is so full of stuff. Oh, this is, so I had 3 sheep, and one of them unfortunately died. She got stuck in a fence and I had to ask someone to help me put her out of her misery, and that was a bit of a tragic day. But anyway, I do still have a Polworth and a Gotland, and so in spring they were shorn. So spring for us is autumn for the Northern Hemisphere, obviously. So this is a few months old, and this is this completely natural color, but this is Lamekins and Dolly, and I really like it. It's a nice light, well, it's about 190-200 meters per. This is almost a double knit or an 8-ply, but I do love the color if you like natural colors. What else? Ooh. Let's see. Okay, here's another one that I did. So this is a Polworth that I bought, and I dyed it in the fleece. It's like, well, obviously it looks like a turquoise color, as you can see. What happened was that a lady had asked me, I feel terrible about this, but I've spoken to her and she's very forgiving, had asked me if I would put some Finn sheep through the mill. And Finn sheep are from Finland and very, very crimpy and fine. She wanted me to dye it an apricot color, and what had happened was I had also bought some Finn myself and thought, well, I'll give it a go with mine first and I'll put it through the mill, and oh my gosh, what a disaster. It just literally got ripped up, had loads of like little short bits which we call neps in it, and I just thought, this is awful. So I literally had a bucket of this lady's Finn all washed and waiting to go, and then I was pushing this Polworth through, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put a little bit of mohair in there because that will give it a bit more drape, because the Polworth is super bouncy. I'm always trying to balance off the bounce with some drape because I think it looks nicer, I think it wears better, and it's something a little bit different. So I went to go and put this mohair in, and it was, when we got to the end of that run, I was like, oh no, that was not mohair, that was Finn. And it went through without nipping, just beautiful, and it's made this gorgeous light yarn. I'll put in the meters per 100 grams underneath. This is going to go in the shop too, and it is lovely. I did a little sampler for that. Where did my sampler go? Yeah. So that's a nice, you know, that's knit on a 4mm needle. And so in terms of stitch, there's 22 stitches for 4 inches and 32 rows for 4 inches on a 4mm needle. Yeah. Don't you think that's so lovely? And it's soft, really soft. This is, to me, next to skin soft. I could definitely wear that next to skin. So that's something else I've done in the mill recently. What else? Did that. I've done that. That's that one. Oh, I tell you what, I do have a couple of works in progress, so I think I might show you those. The one I've already showed you, which is the pressed flowers. And, oops, where is the other one? Oh, it's a field. Hang on a seckie. Somewhere in here is my field. Lordy, this is ridiculous. And that is also Gotland Polworth, which I have slightly coloured up, and it's sort of a pale greeny bluey grey colour. I need somebody who likes naming colours. I could like send them the sample and then they could tell me what colour they think it can be, because I literally cannot think of the colour. Names, I really can't. Hang on while I find this. Oh, got to show you my disaster in a minute. I've just seen that now. Do I need to give it up? I'm going to edit this out, so it's going to just be a cut somewhere. Oops. Oh, here it is. So, my daughter was doing the field sweater, and we decided we'd do like kind of knit along together. And so I started the field. So the field is a lovely top down pullover. Just going to show you the pattern. It's by Camilla Vad, or Vad, I'm not sure where she's from, but look at that. I love that colour as well though, so maybe one day I'll give that one a go. And you start off at the neck, and then you do these little wheat pattern. And so I've finished all the small wheat stitches, and I'm just onto the larger wheat ones. You do an increase while you're doing the yoke as well. You split for the sleeves, and then you know, top down. I'm assuming most people in watching this knit, and so they kind of understand what a top down construction is, and I don't want to have to keep explaining that, like I'm terrible at detail. So that is also knit with my own yarn, and it's going to be lovely and light. I will show you that when it's finished. I don't really know that this colour is for me, so it might be that I actually finish it, and if one of my daughter-in-laws want it, they might get it. So let's wait and see. Watch the space. What else? That's probably all of the knitting. But, you know, with those yarns that I told you about from when I first started, like I say, I love the colours. I'm going to grab a few of those and show you. So look, you can see how much chunkier. It's a beautiful, come on, focus. There. So it's not, none of these are flat colours. It's a green that I did. Come on, get in there. Yep. There's a purple, which is quite a vibrant colour. And in fact, what else? Let's have a look there. This colour here. This is another one that I dyed. It's quite chunky. It's a, what I would call a mossy. This is halo with white in there, but it's actually quite a green colour. Yeah, you can see it better there. So anyway, there's loads of colours, loads and loads. Honestly, loads of colours. I'm going to tell you about the shop soon, but I haven't put any of those up on the shop at all. If anybody wants some for weaving, let me know. So I've started weaving. I've knitted. I'm not knitted. I wove a couple of sampler scarves to take to the shows, just to show again the combination of mixing the light, you know, the white with some colours and whatever, just to give people an idea of what they can do with the yarn, which is, you know, what people seem to like. And then last year I went to a craft retreat, and oh, that's another whole story. Loads of fun. My sister and I went, but anyway, went to this craft retreat, and somebody was selling a loom, and what I loved about this loom, I don't know, it's 35 inches. It's huge. I can't even show it to you all. This is it. It's huge. But what it came with a stand, and it also came with 2 sets of, these called reeds. I'd like to call them reeds. I don't even know the terminology. I'm terrible. But you know, where you can put in a finer yarn for your warp or a thicker yarn, so a 10 and a 7.5. Oh, what have I done here? And so I bought that, and the reason why I bought it was, like I say, it was very wide, it had a stand, and it also had the ability to actually double it up and weave it so that you had double the width, so basically a blanket width. And so in the last week or so, I've decided, okay, I need to do a couple of samples around the weaving. I've got a show coming up in May, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, and that's going to showcase some of the yarns and what they can do. So I did. This was the first one that I did, and that used, well, I had in my stash some commercial yarn lying around, this mustard colour, it's Southlander, and then I also had some of this, just a plain white, and so that was my warp. And then for the weft, I did it in stripes, as you can see, which I thought was pretty snazzy, considering that I am not really much of a weaver, but I love the colours. And let me show you, I brought it up so I could show you, like the world's least organised person sometimes. I think it's because it's just been so long. I've got so much I want to tell you about. I'm overwhelmed a little bit. In fact, that's been the story of my life for the last 6 months, feeling a little overwhelmed. Anyway, look, I'm going to have to put in a picture of the balls of yarn that I used for the warp. But it is alpaca and sheep fleece from Cambridge, that place I told you I went to. And it came out quite chunky, so I thought, oh, well, I'm just going to give it a go. But it's really got a nice flow on it. It's made out of wool, so I'm happy with that one. And then after that, I made a purple one. So that purple is actually this purple that I showed you before, but the warp is some old yarn that I had literally lying in a box for a long time, and it actually matched in really well. So that, if you have a try and bring the fabric up close so you can see, oops, that's how it's ended up. And it's a reasonable size, so it's a great little knee rug. Look, you can see it's a great little knee rug. Or if you're cold, like I haven't washed this one, so the yellow one I've washed, so this purple one I haven't washed, so hopefully when I wash it you actually can have a better drape on it. I'm not sure though, because that was some of the first wool that I ever made, and that was just 100% sheep wool, so we'll see. And what I'm really proud of, you know, like, I just don't even know if you could sell something like this, because really, if you buy yarn and you're buying it at a cheap price, or however you get your yarn, but let's say you get your yarn at a cheap price, and then you make something, you might make a little bit of money on that. But when you consider that I have literally, for at least half of this product, taken this from fleece and sorted it, washed it twice, rinsed it 3 times, dyed it, rinsed it, put it through the mill by picking it, carding it, pin drafted 3 or 4 times, and then onto the spinner, and then still washed it again, and then I've woven it. That is a lot of work. So I'm wondering if these are going to just have to be love gifts to family members, because yeah, I don't know whether you could sell that at a price that you're happy to do the work for. But yeah, I'm trying to give people ideas. Now, so my latest one, which I have now done a silly thing. Can't show it to you very well, but it's kind of a check one. Can you see the checks? Oh no. Yeah. You can see this, the checks there. So again, these are yarns that I've spun. Well, I've not only, I've done everything. I've washed it, carded it, the whole work from start to finish, and made the yarn. And the yarns that I'm using on this one are, oh, guess what? I found the yellow yarn hiding at the back there. So you can see it's quite chunky. And that is making, I've got enough there for at least one more lap blanket like that. And I'm going to choose completely different colours to go with that yellow. That's the joy when you've got heaps of stuff lying around. And give it a go. And then this one is also one of the early ones, and it's a beautiful, it's hard to even say what, the colours in there are brown, a kind of pinkish, a yellow, and green. And this is what it came out like. So that is quite uneven. It's one of the first yarns that I did, but I'm mixing it with this grey. So you can see the grey. Excuse my dirty fingers because I got dye on them by mistake. So those two colours together, and I think they're stunning. Very, very happy with that. Yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'm going to talk a little bit about, not in great detail, but why it's been such a big gap. So initially I was just really thinking I just need to do another podcast, and I was feeling really frustrated with the mill and where I was at, and the limitations of the mill, or at least the limitations of what I can do in the mill. And I'm talking about this in the past tense, but at the time it was very real to me, and I felt really overwhelmed because we literally have made a massive massive leap in spending money on the machinery, and then a lot of money getting the shed done. I mean, just the electrics was $25,000, you know, and so getting this all set up, and then to kind of get to that point where, yes, you can make yarn, but it's not what you want, it's not what you think is a good yarn for selling. And then not being, I still can't work out how to make the yarn finer. And I know that Julie made her yarn finer. I still don't even understand that, and for me to meet someone that would explain it to me would be absolutely amazing. If there's kind of several parts on the spinner that would affect that. So you have a back roller, a front roller, and then you have the spindle. So the back roller kind of slows the speed of the fleece coming in, which sort of stretches it and drags it. The front roller again stretches it, and it feeds it onto the spindle. Okay, so that then the spindle speed will affect something as well. And I've tried changing all sorts of things on it, but I just cannot work out how to make a very fine yarn. And I know because people have brought me yarn that Julie made, and it was very fine. And I'm like, how did she do that? I do not know. I did try and contact her a couple of times, but I think she's kind of moved on from the mill, and, you know, fair enough. But maybe I should contact Junction Fibre. But even with that, I'm like, man, they've just been so kind to me, and how much can you ask? And they're really busy with their own stuff. I just don't even know that they'd have time for me. I just have to make that leap and ask, because I don't know how else I'm going to find that out. I've spent hours and hours and hours, and every time you're doing it, you're actually making a product, and then you've got to do something with it. This one, for example, which I thought was going to come out really fine because the single looked really, really fine. And then when I plied it, it looked a lot less fine. And then when I rinsed it, poof, you know, then it's chunky. But I love playing with colours. I love the dyeing. I love all of that. I know that someone likes chunky yarn somewhere. If that's you, let me know. but I'm working on other things, so I'm trying to get a finer yarn. And like I say, this is much finer, it's much softer. This will be going up on the web shop soon. So there was this whole thing of getting the web shop sorted and putting all of the product on there and putting the photos up and all of that. And you know, I'm in my 60s. I'm not getting a lot of help from a lot of other people, and it takes me a long time to work through things. So I got it up and I just kind of had this freeze. I was just like almost afraid. I'm like worried that it's not going to be successful and I put so much time and effort in it, or that it is going to be super successful and I'm going to go back into that feeling of overwhelm. But I'm in a much better headspace now. I feel like I can deal with it. People, you know, like every single person who's bought off the web thingy, and I haven't told people about it really, has only complimented me on the yarn and been very happy with it. So I need to just get on with it and put it up. Well, I have put it up. Tell you about it. So if you would like to have a look at my web shop, it's called thelittlemilloverthehill.com, and you can send me an inquiry on there as well. I've got lots of things that are not even on the web shop, and if you sign up for the newsletter, every time I put a bundle of things on, then it will send you a little email to let you know that that's happened. Something that Hannah suggested was having shop drops. Is that a thing? Where you have several products that you wait and hold, and then when you're ready you drop them for sale. So I might do that. So I've got quite a lot of stuff that's not on there again, and I will be putting it on soon. But if you just want to have a look at the shop, please just have a little look. I'd love some feedback. If there's any suggestions that people have, just let me know. Yeah, so this is actually, yesterday I did a very pink yarn. This is this one here. I haven't actually measured it, but I'll measure it when I edit and I'll put up the yardage. So this again is sheep fleece, a crossbreed of some description, alpaca and bunny, and it is lovely and soft. Yep, I love it. And great color. Look at it. I don't know what color to call this. Is it kind of pink? I shouldn't have these nondescript little colors. Kind of pink, very blue. And then I made this blue one as well. And just to show you, I'm going to show you, put a picture up of the fleece on the carder. And you can see there's really light, bright pops of blue, and that's alpaca that I dyed. And then when I put it through the carder and it came out, you can see it's still really quite blue. There's a lot of grey in it because there is some dark fleece in there, so there was some black, and then there's also brown, believe it or not. A little bit of brown in there. And then when I spun it up, this is it spun up, but before it was rinsed. Oops, come on. So it looks like a steely grey blue colour. Honestly, if you want to be my official person that does naming of yarns, that'd be awesome. And this is it after I had rinsed it, and it's sort of fluffed up. So it is a greyish colour, but you can see there's this little bit of blue that's in it as well. Now that's a good colour on me, much better than this wishy-washy colour that's for young people. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I have the mill shop, I have it up. It's like, I guess I don't even know why it's been such a big deal for me. The number of times that my family have said, Mum, it's fine, just get it going, put it out there. Poor old Roger, like honestly, he's had so much patience with me about it. But it is up and it's there. Now, what else did I want to tell you? I don't think there's much. Honestly, I don't think I want to do much more talking today. I've got lots more to show and lots more to tell. One of the things is that once a year there's in Auckland the biggest kind of, I think it's the biggest wool show in New Zealand, and you can't just apply to go there. But I was asked by the organisers if I would like to have a stall. In fact, she said to me, Margaret said to me, Denny, do you think you're ready to have a stall at Woolfest? And I was like, oh, wow. And I said yes. So that's happening in a couple of months, and that's part of the reason why I haven't put everything up on the shop, because I need product to sell at the Woolfest. And I'm really excited about that. So, you know, in my mind, wording is making sure that the packaging is right, making sure that I have, well, I'm getting some retail fixtures for putting the yarn on, and I want to have enough colors, I want to have enough stock, and I also want to put some discarded fleece through. So yeah, that's in 2 months' time, so I have got a lot to do still. I have done a lot, but I've got a lot to do, and I can't put it all up on the web shop, but I will put some stuff up. Yeah, not too sure what else to say, but we're now at the end of summer. In the mornings it's that little bit darker. The sunflowers are starting to die off, the dahlias are dying off. I had the sheep shorn again a couple of weeks ago. There's more moisture in the mill, which is great. You can just feel in the air that it's just starting to change, and yeah, into the next season. You know, I have had quite a few people contact me, and I'm so grateful for that, but really mentally I just had to take a little break. The mill was part of it, but I've been feeling a little overwhelmed with life a bit. I think that retiring has been a big deal for me. I thought that I would be like, just keep myself busy. I have to get used to the fact that I don't need to achieve things. Like, you know, I want to make the mill a working mill, but I just had to accept the fact that I need to enjoy this, and that's what I want. I'm exhausted. I think actually I'm going to finish off soon. I do actually want to tell you a couple more things, so I'm not going to finish this right now. In the mill I have a skein winder, and since I had it, which is what, 2 years that it's been working, well, not working, the mill's kind of been working, 3 years since I actually bought the machinery, the skein winder we've had to manually kind of crank. It doesn't have a handle, but you're manually cranking it because Julie told me that every time they put it on, it gave them a shock. So of course I was like, I'm not going to put it on. I just manually did it. And then a couple of weeks ago I asked my Sparky if he would pop in and have a look at it for me, and so he came in and he said, oh, the wiring's not quite right, fixed the wiring up, and off it went. So it works, it turns. And then he said, oh, you've got a counter in here, but it doesn't seem to be working. I'll source you one of those. And so he did that. He sourced a counter, and so now I have a working skein winder. I'm going to put a little video in of this thing working, and it counts the numbers of turns for me. So now what I can do is I can take one turn of yarn, take that, put it on my little drug scale, weigh it, and then I take 100 for the 100 grams, divide it by the weight of the little sample, and then it'll tell me like 86, and that means 86 turns of the skein winder. Unfortunately, it doesn't automatically turn off after the 86, but it certainly is a lot easier just having it count it for you, and I can walk away, come back, walk away, come back, and there's my yarn all ready to go. So that is amazing. The other thing was there's a cone winder which never used. Judy, we spun up some of Judy's carded fleece, carded fibre that she already had, which I think was alpaca and some sheep wool, and we spun that up and then we 3-plied it for her because she wants to make some woven rugs out of it. And so she said, oh, can I have that put on cones? Now when we went to look at the mill and learn, she was the one that did the cone winder, and it didn't work. So Sparky came and he's got the cone winder electrics working, but it still isn't right. I'm going to wait for Judy to come back and we'll have a look at it together. But I think some bits and pieces need tightening on it, and then there's also one little bit where the thread goes through, and that has a chip off it. Well, that was always off it because you can see it's very old and broken. That thing just went flying out. I thought I'd lost it, but I found it. And I think what I'm going to have to do is try and make out of, you know, that like Fimo that you bake in the oven. I'm going to make one very similar to it to put in the on the cone winder, and hopefully that will guide the wool. So those are two great things that happened. The other thing was I got a commercial oven so that I can put trays in there of fleece or yarn if I'm dyeing it, and then cook it in the oven rather than just have the bain marie. And that he had to wire that up specially, so that was good. Trying to think what else. I pretty much think, oh, Roger built a little house for the alpaca tumbler, and so that's all set up. I want to tell you about these alpaca ladies that came to visit me, but I really feel like I've talked enough. I need to stop now. I'll save that for next time, and I'll even show you what I've been doing for and with them. And yeah, so we'll have something else to talk about next time. Sorry if I've rambled, but that is pretty much how I roll. So if you've kind of seen my videos before, you know that's kind of what I do. I am so glad to have got this done, and I think really, considering how much trepidation I was kind of having about doing it, it's gone pretty smoothly. So if you do like my videos, please subscribe, give me the thumbs up, comment if you can, and I hope I see you back for another episode. Hopefully, I'm not going to take 7 months. If I take 7 months, honestly, don't bother. Just I wouldn't be coming back either, but hopefully it's going to be in a couple of weeks, maximum 1 month's time. I just need to get in the habit of doing it. Yeah, so thank you so much for showing up today. Bye. No more hand cranking.
Yeah, and if that pops backwards, it'll trip it out. So you gotta have that forward and that forward. So this is sitting in the up position.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to turn it off and then on again.
Okay.